Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of One Song, One Amp. Well, actually, it's not one amp this time, it's one modeler. So, one song, one modeler. If you don't know, in this series, I basically am featuring a bunch of amplifiers, and I thought it would be fun to feature a bunch of modelers as well. If you want to skip straight to the music, you can do that, by the way. Just follow the time codes below. Anyway, the idea of this one song series is that I wrote a song with 10 different guitars and 10 different styles, going from picking, clean picking, to crunch, all the way up to 9-string metal and everything between, basically. And it's meant to be a test to see if the amplifier, or in this case the modeling platform, can handle all those styles and just see how it sounds, right? Now in this episode, I wanted to revisit the Fender Tone Master Pro, which I have here. Now, this is a cool unit. It's a bit of a controversial unit, I think, because when this thing was released, it had a bunch of, serious competition, like the Line 6 Helix, the Fractal Audio stuff, you name it. And a bunch of the things that they had from the start just weren't up to par. They did do some firmware updates in the recent months and the recent year and stuff, which did improve the unit quite a bit. And before we go into the music section, I want to talk about some of the things that I did notice while I was making this video. Now, I'm not really going to go into the effects. The effects that I've tried so far were quite good. Some of them not so good, but most of them really good. Like the reverb sounded really good, the modulation and the drives sound really good and stuff, but I'm not really an effects guy. So, my attention is going primarily to the amp modeling and the cab section, or in this case, the IR section. So the amp models are quite good. I've done a bunch of videos in which I've compared this to real amplifiers. I did the orange rock reverb, which sounded really close. I did the EVH with the new updates, sounded pretty darn close as well. Maybe not as close as some of the others, like the Quad Cortex or the Fractal FM9, but definitely close. And I also did the rectifier, which was surprisingly close as well. So the amp modeling is quite good. I wouldn't say that it's perfect, and I wouldn't say that it's the best modeling out there, but it sits comfortably, somewhere in the region of the others, I guess, in terms of accuracy, right? They could definitely add some more amp models for sure, but the quality is quite nice. Now with modelers, what I like to do to make the sound of the modelers my own is load in my own impulse responses and then use those as the cab sim, right? I'm not a huge fan of the built-in cab sim. It's not bad, but it takes some effort to find the right mic positions and stuff. And it's just a little bit too finicky for me. So I use my own IRs in this thing, in the IR block, and I'm getting great results with that. As you'll hear in a minute, I'm going to use a wide variety of speaker types and stuff, which is fun. By the way, you can get all those IR packs at my web store, which I will link below. But one thing that they added in a recent update was the impedance curve modeling, because for some reason they included that in the stock cabinets. So the impedance curve were sort of baked into those stock cabinets, but not in the IR block. So at first the sound wasn't really good. It wasn't. It was a little bit too mid-humpy, and a little bit too dull sounding. But now with the impedance curves, you can get much better results. So that is great. The implementation, though, is not perfect yet. The sound of the different curves vary quite a bit. I mean, for instance, the 4x12 Brit cabinet with the greenback sounds very scooped and bright, but then most of the other cabinets sound way more mid-humpy and way less scooped. So there's quite a big difference between that cabinet and the rest. And the rest all sound kind of similar. In fact, some of them sound exactly the same almost, which makes me question the accuracy of the impedance curve modeling a little bit. And because of those drastic differences, it can take a little bit of time to find the right one, if you know what I mean. Because if you start with that very bright and scooped sounding greenback Brit cabinet, you might think, well, that's a little bit too bright. And then you grab another impedance curve and then it's way too dark all of a sudden. You have to go back and adjust the amp settings. And if that isn't working, let's say you go back to that bright one, for example, and then you have to change the amp settings all over again because the difference is just so drastic. So I think that they can fine-tune the impedance curves a little bit more so that they have a bit more of a general sound going on. Going back, I think it would have been better if they just baked impedance curves into the amp models, just as the Helix does, for example. In the fractal stuff, it's also the case, but then you can sort of change the various impedance curves to customize the tone even further, which is cool. But the effect of changing them isn't as drastic as it is in the Tone Master Pro. Another thing that I noticed when I was tweaking my IR, picking the right IR, when I went back to the IR tweaking screen, all the settings went away. So the impedance curve that I had chosen before reverted back to the default, which is that 4x12 greenback Brit cabinet, which was a little bit annoying because then, it's a bit difficult to A/B different types of settings. So maybe they can change that by, having the settings not change when you change an IR. I think it would be better to have a little menu where you just choose the IRs rather than doing the whole replace block thing that the Tone Master Pro does in the menus. Just some nitpicky notes, I guess, but I think that they could improve the workflow there, as well as the sound quality to make it all sound a bit more, general, I guess, and not so sort of out there in some cases. Some are way too muffled, and others are just way too scooped and bright, if you know what I mean. So that's just something that I wanted to mention from my perspective, from, the things that I find important. For me, the main thing about a modeler that is important is just the accuracy of the amp modeling and the cab modeling, okay? Now, what I did do is I did my best for all the sections, so all the 10 sections, to choose a different amp model. So that was fun. So you'll hear a wide variety of amp models in this video, some reverb, some delay here and there, and some boosts at the end for the really heavy stuff. And I'm not sure what else to say. I hope you enjoy this. And I hope you'll enjoy hearing the tones from the Tone Master Pro as well. I'd love to know your thoughts on the tones. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate it. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, as that really helps the channel out. And if you want to support this channel, you can buy something in my affiliate links, including a Fender Tone Master Pro, Tonemon and Sweetwater and all that good stuff, or get one of my IR packs at my web store. I'll link all of that stuff below. And I hope you come back for more episodes of One Song, whether it's for a modeling platform or for a real amplifier, because I'm having a blast with these, exploring a bunch of different tones. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys, enough talk. Enjoy this video. Cheers.